I'm Kurt Simerman. Um, I, I guess I could say that I'm a woodworker first and foremost, and that's how I got into instrument building. Years ago, I was looking for a project that I could do in my home, but I was looking for a project that could help me earn a little bit of money to have a workshop in one sense. And the other motivation was just to kind of escape from the world and get outside of the realm of, at the time I was an elementary school teacher, and just get outside of the realm of elementary education and go into the world of woodworking and get lost in it. My first contact with them was as a very young child in North Carolina. I have relatives in the Appalachian Mountains, and just wandered through a few dulcimer shops, and it was the one, woodworking was always appealing to me, and I loved all of the woodworking arts, but for some reason the dulcimer jumped out at me, and that was, I can't tell you why, it's like love at first sight or something, but I loved the shape and I loved the look of it, and it just always stuck with me. And I think that was probably one of the decisions for trying to build one. When I first started building, I had a person in mind, and I didn't know who that person was. I was looking for people that would want a dulcimer, and I really didn't know what was out there or what existed. And the first few instruments I built, I was building in hopes that I would find somebody that would connect with what I was doing. And that brought me to just kind of fumble into a whole world or culture of dulcimer people. And part of the community that I became involved in was just the people that go from festival to sell dulcimer books and tapes and instruments and dulcimer bags. And so that was almost became my travel family, almost like gypsies wandering around from place to place. And you'd meet up with people every 6 weeks, 8 weeks at another festival somewhere in the country. And but it was basically that sort of became the community that I started to build for and build with. A lot of my motivation for building came out of that community as well. And as actually, I don't think what I build today would be anything compared, without that community, would be nothing compared to what it is today without that community. And the influence, everyone that could talk to me and tell me what they really thought of my instruments as I began building was very important to me, and I listened and made changes and adjustments. Even if they were bad ideas, I would try them to see why it was a bad idea, because oftentimes I'd find a new answer to something. By trying what didn't work, I could discover something that did. And so the community was really the place where I learned what makes a good dulcimer and what people are looking for, what people want as performers. Who are they that I build for now? It's people that play dulcimers and that are looking for a specific kind of sound or looking for a particular instrument that performs in a particular way, like for finger picking or strumming or flat picking, in trying to make an instrument that matches their desires or their needs with music. I guess probably the most distinct or the largest or biggest contrast from a traditional dulcimer to what I do is probably the bridge that's separate from the fretboard, because traditionally the fretboard goes the full length of the instrument, and that came from seeing a few dulcimers out in the dulcimer world that were trying various things. And it was interesting because I can't tell you how long ago this was, probably at least a good 12 maybe years ago when I started, maybe 13, when I started experimenting with a separate bridge. And I saw a few other people trying those as well, but what I discovered was if you look way back in some of the history of the dulcimers, there were some dulcimers that actually had little tiny, almost like mandolin bridges on their instruments, and they were a good 100 or more years back from what I was experimenting with. So I think everything that I've done is not an innovation in that it's something that I came up with or created out of nothing, but it's really just an influence of the world around me. And probably a lot, in the same way that a lot of musicians say that they simply write music by what speaks to them and what influences them. And I think that's what I would say about the dulcimer design that I have now. It's really just a result of responding to what I've seen in experimentation and response from people as they've played my instruments. The dulcimer is a traditional instrument, and there are builders who are very stringent on making sure that it's truly traditional, that you wouldn't have a metal tuner on it, that it would all be wooden pegs and in a wood peg box. And I actually think that my instrument probably is traditional. From the little bits and pieces I've heard about the builders and how innovative they were, the early builders, I don't think I'm any different than they are, because they'd use fence wire or staples or whatever they could find to get the job done. And that's really all that I'm doing, is trying to get the job done and do it well so that it fits the needs of the people that want to make music. And actually the greatest pleasure in my instruments for me is not my playing them, but hearing them played by other people. So I don't think I think I'm just another guy from the hills trying to do the best job on a dulcimer he can do. I'm not sure I'm really am different. Just a different time and place, different materials.